this is YaSheema Marshall from Renaissance Family Solutions. I'm here today with another Family Matters tip for you about parenting our children. The one thing that's been really on my mind about parenting lately with parents and our children, whether it's a 3 or 4-year-old and whether it's a teenager, is making sure that we're holding our children accountable for their behaviors. This is so important in terms of parenting, keeping our children, holding them accountable for the things that they do. I know we love our children. We adore them. We want them to have things we didn't have when we were children. We want them to see things, go places, just have a totally different experience in life. But we have to make sure that when they are not going on the right path and they're making poor decisions, that we make sure that as parents, we're allowing some of those natural consequences to take effect. Now we're going to talk about 3 things I think parents need to do in order to make sure their children are being held accountable for their behaviors and how to go about doing that. Or 3 things, maybe we'll address it as 3 things not to do when your children are misbehaving and they're doing some things out in the community or at school they shouldn't be doing. And I'm going to talk about 3 things I think parents shouldn't do and where they go wrong and making sure our children are held accountable for their behavior. Now, the first thing that I think parents do in handling misbehavior with their children and not holding their kids accountable is making excuses. That is probably the number one thing that parents unfortunately love to do when their children are not doing what is expected of them. They love to make excuses for their behavior. Oh, little Johnny did this because he just doesn't understand. He was tired, he was sleepy, he didn't do this, he didn't do that, and there's just excuse after excuse. It's very important that we're not making excuses for our children and we're making sure that they're being held accountable for their behavior. Because when we make excuses, then we let our children think that their behavior was acceptable and that it was okay. And not only is it not acceptable in your household, it's not acceptable socially in other environments. So we don't want to set our children up for failure by making them think that their behavior is acceptable when it is not. So we have to stop making excuses, parents, for our children's behavior and hold them accountable for what they're doing and the poor decisions they're making when they do them. Number 2, blaming someone else for why your child is behaving the way they're behaving. Children do things, we know, from 0 all the way up to 21. Now, that I said 21 was a kid. Yep, I sure did, because they're still 21-year-olds. They're living home with their parents. They're being taken care of by their parents. Guess what? You're a kid. If you're still being taken care of, you're 21 years old, you're a kid, and you're subject to some rules and regulations from your parents. Hey, that's the breaks, guys. But, so what I'm saying here is that blaming somebody. When our children do something that is wrong, that is on the wrong path, it was a poor decision, we can't always blame someone for their behavior. The child did something. Little Johnny broke a window. We can't turn around and blame the fact that he's a kid or blame the fact that, he couldn't see, or we don't any blaming. It's nobody else's fault except Johnny's. So you have to hold Johnny accountable and say, hey, what you did was a poor choice. You shouldn't have been throwing the ball over here. Maybe you should have played over here. Maybe you should have did something differently. Give them a different process in making a decision to make a better choice next time. But definitely don't blame anybody. It's no one's fault. When your child commits a crime, it's not anyone else's fault but theirs. If they get a consequence, so they have to be detained, they have to go to a program, they're on probation, they have an ankle bracelet or what have you, we can't blame the system for what they're doing to the child. We have to make sure we're holding that child accountable for their behavior. And some things may be unfair, the way a school or a teacher or another authority may handle something. You may not be in total agreement of that, but we don't want to blame that authority figure for that child's behavior. We have to hold them accountable for their behavior, even though we're not in agreement in maybe how the consequence was played out for them. Number 3, don't fight battles that aren't really your battle to fight. What do I mean by that? Parents, We love our children, and we go to bat for them at the drop of a dime. I swear, I would do it for my children, and I'm sure parents love to do it for their own children, everyone else. But I tell you what, sometimes we go to bat for our children, whether it's at school, whether it's a sporting event, they're on a sports team, whether they're on probation, whatever it may be, with their friendship. But we go to bat and we fight battles for our children that need not to be fought. Sometimes we have to let certain things play themselves out. For instance, Jeffrey, he knew he had a project. He knows he has homework every day. He has projects every day. And he's 14 years old. And Jeffrey decides that he's not going to do his homework. He decides that he's not going to turn that project. He's going to lie to you about not when it's due and that he's done it, that it's complete, Mom. It's great. You don't have to worry about it. So Johnny does this. He doesn't do his homework. And he's doing this consistently. He's making a conscious choice not to do his homework, okay? Now, at the end of the semester, Johnny gets an F. Hey, were you surprised? Why are you surprised? Johnny made a choice not to do his homework, not to follow the expectations of the classroom, and obtain and earn the grade that he wanted to earn. That's acceptable in your household. That's acceptable value for your family. He made that choice. Now, are you upset? Are you pissed? Absolutely. But do we go up to the school and put up a fight to make sure Johnny gets at least a C and expect the teacher to go above and beyond and break the rules and change everything about her grading scale to meet your needs and to make sure little Johnny gets a C? No, we don't do that. That's not a battle for you to fight. Instead, what you should do is say, wow, Johnny, I bet you could have got a C if you'd done your homework. It's a natural consequence. And you'll say to him, now what can you do next semester to make sure that we don't get an F in science? Okay, so these are the things you have to train your children on. So this is a 5-minute talk. If you'd like to talk to me in greater detail about coaching, parent coaching, tips on parenting, I'm always available at www.renaissancefamilysolutions.com. And you can also always call me at 407-218-6113.